Hi there, welcome. My name is Aura, and this is a second YouTube channel I have created because my previous one, and I'm also uploading this other places because my previous channel was banned for no reason, and I was given no explanation. I don't know why. So I am going to be doing this a little differently here this time, just so that you all know, anybody who's been with me for a while, the astrology I use, I've generally used standard astro.com regular astrology that anybody can go and put in at that site. That is not actually what I use when I use my forecasting. What I use is some specialized system that I developed myself. Okay, so you're never going to find it anywhere else. And I use proprietary models. I can't show you the charts. It's all very difficult to, it took me years, took me decades to develop this. This is how I was able to predict a worldwide event affecting, happening in February of 2020, and I was warning about it in 2019. This is how I was able to see that this thing that was going on was going to influence every single person on Earth in February of 2020, and then, of course, through following that period of time. And I will say that there are events now that are coming. The only other time, so that February 2020 was the only time in all of my decades of practicing astrology. And I started learning astrology when I was 9 years old. That was the only time I had a major warning about something that was a worldwide event. And we have another one coming here in December. And that's what I'm pointing out to you guys. I want you guys all to know that there is a very major worldwide event coming in December, okay? Coming as we're leading into Christmas. There's something very, very big that is happening. It's going to be huge, and it will be worldwide. Everyone on Earth will feel it. I see this as very different than what happened in 2020. I see this as about frequency and the levels you choose, which frequency level you choose to live on. And of course, we want to live on more love, heart-centered frequency because we're going to have a much better life if we do, okay? So this week, I'm going to, from my notes, from the timing report that I do every month for my members, based on my proprietary astrology system, I will discuss the themes of the week, okay? There's more detail for members in the member timing report that has dates and that talks with dates about Bitcoin and the crypto market and what's going on with the crypto market. I will also give you a heads up on what's happening with the crypto market this week. But the dates, the more details, the deets will be in the members timing report. And I will also go look at the Bitcoin chart and explain where we are and what's going to be likely to be happening this week, as I used to do always, okay? So I'm going to do it a little differently. We're not going to see the charts. I'm not going to pull up the astrology charts that I used to pull up, but I am going to talk from my notes. So the big general themes that are going on this week astrologically is a full moon on the 4th in Gemini. We are still in the shadow of Mercury, which is picking up speed because it just turned direct and it is now moving forward, okay? And it's still in Scorpio and will be moving into Sagittarius. That will happen on December 12th. That is when Mercury moves into Sagittarius, and then on December 17th, it leaves the shadow. So between now and then, and the thing with astrology is these cycles are not necessarily weekly. They can be for a year, for months, for several weeks, for 60 years, depending on the cycle you're looking at and which planet we're talking about. I look at things in cycles a lot more. So this particular Mercury cycle is moving forward in December, and it's clearing in December. We move into new territory after Mercury leaves the shadow on the 17th. So just know that right now we're still under a lot of Scorpio influence, which is very intense, and I will be putting out another video about some of the psychopathic, narcissistic, demonic energy that I've seen on people during this Mercury retrograde and how to identify it for yourself. This will be for your protection, okay? It's a separate video I'm going to do. So subscribe to make sure you get notified when I put that one out, because this is something that people need to identify because there's a lot more of this going on currently. And into Sagittarius, this is still going to be very strong. So be aware that that is also something we need to be very cautious and careful of, these dark triad psychological processes that will be they've been sort of stirred up in the world right now, okay? A lot of it is due to conflicting battle narratives in the media, and it just stirs up the darker impulses in people, of course. And like I said, to be on the higher frequency is to not be slipping into that. And of course, that's kind of the battle between light and dark, right? That we're in right now. So, having said that, this theme of the moon in Gemini is in fact, and it's a full moon in Gemini, so it's a completion of some cycle that has to do with communication. So there's something, and of course Mercury, all this Mercury stuff. So something coming up with deep, profound psychological stuff, feelings, unresolved things. We all have it, and it's all on the table for all of us to see and hear and work through during the first few days of this week, up until the 4th, when we have that full moon in Gemini. This is going to really culminate and allow us to release something and let it go for good and change it, okay? This is a 9-year. We're at the end of it. We're completing cycles. We're ending things. We're letting go of stuff. This is the time to finish up those psychological internal completions, and that's with all these retrograde planets. We have several planets retrograde still. We have, if I can actually read my own notes, no, this is Bitcoin. So the planets that are retrograde still in right now are Jupiter and Uranus and Neptune and Chiron. Okay, Saturn just changed directions and went direct, and it's pretty intense. There's like major real karma coming to people because Saturn has now changed directions. But these other planets are also changing directions over the coming months. This is that deep inner stuff that we've been changing and that we've been healing and that we've been resolving. And as we move into next year, there's new beginnings. Okay. 2026 is a year of new beginnings. And the more we clear out this year, the better the new beginnings will be. So it's definitely time to complete and resolve and come to the end of difficult emotional spaces, concepts, ideas, thoughts about things, reactions, and jobs, and situations in our lives, relationships that are problematic. And so we are either going to be talking through them, especially this week, or learning which to separate and sift out and to cut out of our lives. And sometimes when we don't cut them out of our lives, they force us to do that. So this is what the spiritual work is to sift this stuff through, and we're getting that opportunity to clear these things out and become a clean slate for new things to happen. And right now, this week, there's been a really huge and large unclogging of pipes, things that have been really in our lives. I mean, metaphorically, things that have been really backed up, really stagnant, really stuck in our lives. More so for people who are really getting very direct aspects from the Saturn changing directions and Mercury changing directions, in Scorpio. Those two are going to be influencing certain people, if you have direct hits in your chart more than others. But this is, if you've had things that feel stagnant, they're going to start moving. And into next year, there will be a lot more movement because these planets are going to start moving direct. But right now, big unclogging of certain areas of our lives. So we can start to feel things move forward. It might not be everything, but things are going to start to turn around, and they will happen, and they will do so very quickly. Another big theme for this week is that we can accomplish a lot of very well coordinated plans. So if you have something that requires multi-steps to put into motion, if you have to put some strategy into something, this is a week where a lot of that can happen. That's sort of the result of the unclogging. Something gets unclogged, then we can execute a lot of steps to get something done. So this is a very good time to be focusing on those kinds of things because that opportunity is here, right, front and center. And then the other major theme this week is going to have to do with things that have to do with advanced thinking, okay? Maybe a lot that has to do with AI and the AI stocks and things that are happening in the AI sphere infrastructure. I do see a lot happening with AI and other countries versus the AI in the United States and the arms race that's happening around the AI. We know this has already been set up. This has been in the news a lot, but there's a lot that's crystallizing this week, especially as we get through next weekend, that is related to AI. Of course, it's not a work week. You're off work days, but there's still likely to be news or information or things breaking Friday and into the weekend that is related to the AI space. But it's not just AI. It's also higher thinking in our own creative genius that we can implement. So there's a lot of good energy available right now for us to put a lot of planning in place and then to work to execute those plans. So it's a good time to strategize, and it's a good time to start writing things down, making blueprints for yourself and plans for what you would like to accomplish, given a windfall or opportunity, or just dreaming on paper or out loud, or however it works for you to do it. I like journaling. I like flow charts. That they appeal to some of my Virgo planets. That sort of flow chart, orderly thing. And I'm very visual, so I like to be able to see it. But maybe you want to put up a vision board. That's also great. Maybe you just like to scroll Pinterest and make up your own pin board. I don't know. There's a lot of ways you can do it, but it can be very, very helpful. Maybe just journaling. These things are very, very helpful at this time to unlock and trigger our higher thinking, our more genius aspects of our mind, to help us. And don't tell our subconscious how to make it happen. Just put the request out of what we want. And it's a good for manifesting. It's a very powerful manifestation tool. So there are great opportunities in this way for us this week, especially as we move towards the weekend. It's a very good time to get very creative and putting a lot of emotion into those visualizations in a positive way. Like, positive emotions will be very helpful. Sometimes we need to clear out negative emotions in order to be able to focus on the positive emotions. So that communication, that analysis, that understanding of our thinking and our thought process is going to do wonders for helping us to come to that space where we can be in that positive emotional state and start creating those emotional states that are of the positive, and visualizing with those positive emotions. That will bring our manifestations to us that much quicker. Okay. So these are like not just out there, external forces, but we have the power to use these forces ourselves. And that is something I am very, very adamant about, being practically able to take the energies that are present in the current week and use them for your own benefit. Okay. So the stuff about communication right now with the full moon on the 4th could be a very good time to burn a candle, maybe a yellow candle or a blue candle. Blue for the throat chakra, which is the communication chakra, which is, Gemini is not really the throat, but or you could do purple for the third eye chakra, depending on where you're feeling the greatest need. The yellow is for the solar plexus, for being heard, for being seen and witnessed and recognized. Whatever one of those things, if you feel the need to be able to talk more, burn a blue or turquoise candle. If you want to open up your clarity of thinking and focus and vision, burn a purple candle. This would be very helpful for us on this full moon in Gemini. So you could burn it starting on the 3rd, 4th, 5th. You could even start it on the 2nd if you want, if you're burning a multi-day candle, that kind of thing. Or you could start it on the full moon. Even the day after is okay if you don't get to it right away, but just do it during that window, and it will help to use those energies and harness those energies in order for you to move into that space where that clarity of vision, that third eye, that vision, that using your thoughts and communicating and connecting with your values in a way that helps you to manifest your goals and dreams, and being in alignment with the solar plexus. I'm actually touching my belly here, but with the solar plexus, which is the second brain, and also that permission, permission to be seen, to show up in the world, to be recognized, to be appreciated, and to have your ideas, your thoughts, and your communications flow. So that is what I'm hoping for you this week. I'm nothing if not practical, being a Taurus myself, so I am always trying to give you practical tools, okay? And this is also why I focus on the crypto and the money and the finances and the practical steps that we can make to achieve our goals and our dreams. Okay, having said that, let's take a look at some of the things that are going on in the financial world, starting with crypto. What I have in my notes about Bitcoin, and I'm not going to get into a lot of detail about this because this is what my members get from me, but I will tell you there will be something that will happen this week that will help to release some of the repression of the alt market. So it's not going to be all the alts, but there will be some, because these markets have been held back. That's how I see it. I see crypto, Bitcoin, and especially the alts have been pushed down and held down, even during this bullish run in 2025. They need to come up. They need to escape, and they will escape from control, not all at once, in phases. Okay, there will be a little bit here, a little bit more there, a little bit more there, and they're going to start to run up. It's not going to happen in all one big rush up the way it did last time and the time before. Just be aware of that. So what we're going to see is some sector of the alt market breaking out this week. I've talked to members about what sector I expect that to be, but just be aware some areas will break out while maybe Bitcoin isn't, or the rest of the market isn't. So you're going to see certain, like a lot of green in certain handful of coins. And there's always some of that, but this is a sector. This is a one theme of the type of coins. Like I could say it could be meme coins, or it could be, it's not meme coins, but it could be something like that. I mean, it could be meme coins, but I don't see that, okay? So, and at some point it will be meme coins, okay? So be aware that that is going to be happening. There'll be sectors that are going to be breaking out of the control that they've been under. Okay, so that's what I'm seeing with that. But let's pull up the Bitcoin chart so I can give you a heads up on where the levels are that I see happening with Bitcoin. Also, silver, of course, I should have talked about it first because it is absolutely exploding higher. So I will talk about that just after we talk about Bitcoin. So let's look at Bitcoin. So here we are looking at the Bitcoin chart, and there are a couple of levels in and around where we are right here. So this is a resistance support level here at 91,478, and we came back up to it. There are more levels in here, and this is not the exact chart that I use for my members. So I'm giving you guys some more general information, and there's more specifics with my membership. However, where we are in the chart could be seen as bouncing between several support and resistance levels, okay? And here we came up to this level, and is this going to be a ceiling for us and push us down lower because we rose, we bounced, and we're sitting here, and we're coming back down again, and we're sort of in this ricochet moment where we can either break down and get another leg down in Bitcoin, and if we go below like 71,000, and I told my members this recently, 70 to 71,000, look out below because the market structure is completely breaking and we are likely to go, completely down, okay, and have a massive, lower level unfolding happen. That is not what I expect is the theme that is happening. I just want you guys to be aware that this is a critical level. If we get below it, we're in trouble. However, I don't think we're going to go that low. But the question is, do we go down below where we have just been, which is just over 80K, and come hit some level in here before we go higher? Because I do expect we're going to go higher. And also the other question is, how long will it take? Okay, so I would say we have some weeks more of deciding down here of whether we're going to go much lower or whether we're going to turn around and come up. And we're in a critical window where we must make that decision here. Definitely before the end of the year. And we need to break through this level with force, and we have to then break through 100K with force to be getting a turnaround in the market. And my overall theme, the overall expectation of this market is that, yes, we could go a little bit lower. And if you want those levels, again, those are in my members area, and the description for that, the link to that is in the description box below. But my expectation is that Bitcoin and the stock markets as well are going to turn around, break up, and go higher, much higher. We're going to go to much beyond all-time highs. In fact, we're going to go higher than I had expected at the beginning of this year because we got this drop. It's almost like, how you're on a trampoline and the harder you bounce down, the higher you go. It's like that. That's what's happening. So what we're going to do is we're going to melt up. We're going to have massive liquidity pumped into the system, and the question is when. Then we're going to shoot up, and we're going to have a massive, melt up to higher levels in the stock market and crypto before we have a crack up, boom, kaboom, crash, and then we're in very, very bad, devastating territory with the financial system in the world, okay? So I still expect we have the vertical movements that are coming. Okay, so we're going to have parabolic, vertical, rip your face off kinds of moves coming in the crypto market and stocks, but I don't work in the stock market because when the stock market goes down, they're going to take the whole thing offline like they just did with silver, which brings me to silver. Let's go talk about it because on Friday they shut down the COMEX, which is the U.S. side of the trading market, whereas the LBMA, which is the London side of it, is pretty much out of silver. And then on Sunday, when the Shanghai Bullion Exchange, when it opened up, it's in Asia, I know that. When it opened up, silver went up almost $1 within an hour, okay? And let's look at where it is now, which has gone up much further. So as of now, silver is at, it says 5805 on SD Bullion, and they're actually not quite as accurate, and they were higher. It was higher today. So this is, but they're usually a few cents off of what I get on this chart, which is a little more exact, but they're a little lower now. And that's because silver shot up. It was higher today. It was over $58.58. Okay. I don't know how much over 58, maybe 58, 59 cents. It came very close to 59 cents if it didn't break that. And then it came down a little bit, but it's forming the kind of pattern that looks like it wants to break higher, even on the daily chart. So this is a bull move that is, still moving. And so silver has gone up. They're saying $1.14 here. And then on this chart, it says $1.19. So it has shot up over $1 today, again over $58 and almost $58.50 almost $58.60 at one point today. So this is a really huge move, and there's a lot of reasons why this is more than just a big move in silver today. The reason it's a big deal that it's shot up and stayed up, I mean, it did come down, a few cents, 50 cents or something today, but the reason it's a big deal is because they were not able to shut it way down and repress it the way they did after the giant move in October, where we shot through $50 all the way up to 55 very, very quickly. And then, of course, the rigging was, put in place, and they were able to short the market and push the price down to save themselves from losing billions of dollars on the shorts that the major players have on the COMEX and the LBMA, but they've lost the ability to do that right now for various reasons. They can't. They don't have. It's just because there's no silver, because they're running out at the LBMA, so which is the London bullion market. So this is where it is that it's going up, and they are not going to be able to keep pushing it down, mainly because markets in the rest of the world are continuing to trade higher. So if they keep the price down, at this point, they've already realized that the rest of the world is just buying our silver super cheap and taking it. Like, we don't have an infinite supply. It's very low supply. It's the most basic dynamic of price action in any market in the world, which is limited supply, high demand. And that's where silver is. And that's why silver's shooting up in price, is because the supply is not just limited, it's shrinking, and the demand is growing. And it's not your neighbor. It's not people you talk to, at the grocery store. No, none of them know. They should, but they don't, because it's the institutions and the countries that are doing this. And that is why price is going to continue to go up, because guess what? Their pocketbook's a little bigger than you and mine, right? They're talking billions of ounces. You and I, we're just going down and picking up, the occasional ounce or 20, or maybe if we're doing really well and we have a lot of money, we might be getting 100 or more ounces at a time, okay? When I was at the coin shop last time and I bought ounces, I watched two guys put about $5,000, $5,000 to $6,000 into silver, buying bars. They were each buying like 100-ounce bars. They were buying like I don't know, however many that is, right? They were buying like 10 of them, I guess, to get the $5,000, $6,000 of silver at that time. And they've already made money, because this was when silver was $51. So they're doing quite well on that position. So that is where things are at, okay? Silver is trying to make a rocket ship to the moon, essentially. So the action is in the gold and silver market right now. Silver doing bigger moves percentage-wise than gold. That there are things going on there, which I went into in the last member call, that this is not just a unidirectional market. There's a lot of moving parts to it. So anyway, that is the whole shebang for this week. Let me know if you like this format. You're a longtime viewer, sort of a previous subscriber. Share this with anyone you think could benefit from it. And of course, go to my blog at aurawright.media and subscribe to the blog, because then you will get short bite-sized information that I put out almost daily. Try and put stuff out every day that will give you littler, some of them are clips from this video and smaller bits of information. So there we go. Thank you guys. Have a beautiful week. Take advantage of these opportunities that the energy of the week is presenting us with. Bye-bye. Have a good week. Next up, as we get into the 19th and the 20th, which is the new moon and the solstice, right? On the 20th, 21st is when the solstice is, depending on where you are in the world.